5 nights chaka chomaliza chimene commutation of death sentence into a life imprisonment. It was only the only two presidents that have done, 3, Kamuzu, Chair, and Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. The other presidents, Bingu, Peter, and Joyce Banda, did not commute death sentences. Now, this speaks to us that 33 years without using the death penalty. Why do we have the death penalty? But you had indicated that I'd volunteered. I was a volunteer of the committee of St. Egidio. But
the Justice for All project.
While volunteering for St. Egidio, we did a lot of advocacy, engaged chiefs. Committee of St. Egidio is excellent with engaging the community because their members exist in the communities, so they were able to listen to the chiefs. But in 2019, I joined an international organization called Reprieve UK, which is responsible. It's a charity organization that works in ensuring that there's due process and advocating for the abolition of the death penalty and the elimination of torture. Now, we did a consultation with Parliamentary Legal Affairs Committee led by Honorable Peter Dimba, an excellent legislator. We traveled to Lilongwe, to Blanta, to Nzuzu, and heard views of Malawi and the people support abolition penalty, which was a shock because for years politicians have been saying Malawians want the death penalty. But if you ask them, what report do you have? Did you do a survey? They will not show you. But we did with Parliamentary Legal Affairs Committee, our own Malawian parliamentarians engaging people, and these things are on record because the Parliament moves with this TV, so you can see this on record. The other thing is that the Minister of Justice has been very positive in terms of as a policy holder, and the only thing they have been trying to do too much. That I can criticize them for trying to do too much because you can't consult every Malawian. It's not possible. There's no law in Malawi where they can claim that they consulted every Malawian. But besides that, they have been excellent. The Minister of Justice, Titus Valo, has been open to engage. In fact, in 2023, in January, we had a conference at Crossroads Hotel where stakeholders also were invited. At this conference led by the Minister of Justice, where partners and people, players in the criminal justice system, church leaders, religious leaders, and the traditional leaders and all other stakeholders were consulted on the abolition of the death penalty. And 70%, the majority, let me say, supported the abolition of the death penalty. What is waiting for right now is just a bill that should come before Parliament. Because I can tell you, I've been to Parliament for the last 3 years. Parliamentarians are ready to abolish the death penalty. Because the death penalty does not. So today, we commemorate the World Day Against the Death Penalty. And the World Day Against the Death Penalty this year is that death penalty does not protect anyone. Abolish it now. So the film is discussing that the death penalty sometimes is presented as a deterrent to crime and thereby preventing people from committing a crime such that then the community is protected, Malawi is protected. But that's not the case.
I think it's also a political issue that if they were going to do that, perhaps there won't be problems at the ballot. Do you get that sentiment?
I've gotten those sentiments, but those sentiments are misled. I'll tell you, the voting in Malawi is influenced by still the berry in Malawi. We're still doing the politics of the berry. The most important thing in Malawi remains food.
Maize.
Maize. Precisely. Not even food, but maize. Thank you for that correction. So we are at that level where our voting patterns are really focused on Anzakewo. Beyond that, the voting I've observed since Bingu Amtalika time. So Bingu was very excellent in bringing maize to Malawians with his policies. But beyond that, the other voting consideration is development. And in Malawi, we are so primitive that still development is about roads. So the voters will look at Mangansewu akavote. we are not yet at the level where people vote based on policies. You know, that these are Democrats, for instance, in America, Democrats, they believe in this, they believe in human rights to this extent. No, I'm Republican because the Republicans don't believe in this, don't believe in those kind of human rights to that extent. No. So the argument that if you abolish the death penalty, then you might not be voted, it's misled. It's from a misinformation that has not been proven. In fact, if that was the case, Chair Bakiri Muruz would have faced repercussions for not, executing people. Bingu as well. He had 2 terms, though unfortunately he died in this second term. But he was voted despite not executing people at a time when people were being killed, people with albinism, unfortunately. Now let me conclude on this point that sadly the community of people with albinism has been victims of being hunted and killed. This is heinous and this is unacceptable, and as a people we need to end this practice. But this government, or we should say the police and the army, have been very helpful in terms of it's not as it was in 2019, but we still need to do more. Why has the things changed in terms of the killings of people with albinism? It's not because of the death penalty. Obviously, we are not executing. As I told you, the president the president commuted all death sentences to life in prison. People killing people with albinism, because the killings of people with albinism, when somebody wants to kill a person with albinism or any other person, they are not thinking of the crime, the offense. I mean, the punishment that will come after that offense. They are either thinking that they will run away because someone, when they are committing a crime, they are not planning to be caught. No. Or secondly, they are not thinking. So there are those situations where you're in the heat of the moment, or you have mental illness. But I don't want to talk about mental illness because sometimes people think it's an excuse to do wrong, which should not be the case. But people kill in the heat of the moment. You are at a drinking place, you're discussing stories, and you realize that the person you're with is dating your woman, is dating your girlfriend, or is dating your wife. You take a knife, you stab them.
Or armed robbers will walk into your house. I was going to ask you what you would tell somebody who lost their loved one to armed robbers who busted into their house and brutally killed their wife. And they are still thinking justice should prevail. What would you tell them?
No, it's a very difficult question and a difficult circumstance to lose a loved one because of robbers and because of evil people anyway. There's nothing that I can say that can help the situation. And I'm saying that because I've experienced it. I've got a relative that was murdered in her whole home. And there's nothing that someone can say that can change the situation apart from her coming back. Because
in relation to the death penalty.
Exactly, I'm going there.
Right.
When you lose someone like that, the first reaction you have is vengeance, because that's humanity. Normally, majority will want to venge, but over time, you start realizing that vengeance will not resolve anything. You need to find peace with yourself, to the circumstances that you're faced, to the criminal. You need to make peace with the criminal, that this person was a criminal. The moment you keep the anger, then the criminal is still controlling, is still having authority over your life. And there's no peace in killing the criminal. In fact, when you kill the criminal, you're giving them a free pass. I'm telling you that I've worked with death row inmates for more than 10 years.
Right.
And the people that commit heinous crimes and that I've met that really murdered, and they set out on their frolic of their own, or they set out from their home to kill someone, or when the moment came to kill, they didn't even think twice. They did it even in the most heinous way. Those people are not afraid to die. In fact, those people, they want to die, because then when they die, they are not suffering at all. So in fact, the death penalty is ironic because it removes responsibility from, because a person who has died, you have killed, they don't bear the burden of this. But you know,
I know you're really trying to explain this because it's something that's close to your heart. But you seem very determined in terms of pursuing this matter on the justice delivery in Malawi. But you somewhere you are also writing on your Facebook as if you are scared of something. Although I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I fear no evil. You seem to have some fear about what you have embarked on.
No, so if I had fear, I wouldn't have studied what I studied. I'll get there.
Right.
But the issue is that I would be stupid to not recognize how dangerous the path I've taken is. The cartel is serious. The cartel of injustice, the cartel of corruption, they're serious people. As I'm speaking to you now, I have people that are following me. I know them. I know whenever I am traveling, there's a car that is following me. I know people are having conversations. If I am to tell you, do you know that go there?
Why would you not want to discuss
because as a lawyer, I know how complicated some things that I can say can be. So I want to cover myself.
You're bold enough to come out, and there's still something you can't talk about.
Yes, because I have to know what to say and what not to say. Some people, because I say so much, they think I say everything.
So you know,
people think I couldn't have been at the place where I am if I was careless. Everything that I've said, that was security for me. As a human rights advocate, I know how to behave when I have information, how to protect myself. So the things that I've said on Facebook, I wasn't playing. That was serious.
Someone is following you?
People are following me. I've seen cars that are strange. Obviously, the course that I'm taking might have stepped on some other people's toes. And people are willing to destroy. It's a cartel that has created careers.
Are you sure the people following you are the people you are discussing in your public sentiments?
Well, they were not following me before I started this course. So I have got a reasonable suspicion to do that. And I need to do that to protect myself, as it were. But I'm not afraid. And that's why I've continued to take this issue head on. And right now, they can't do anything to me. I can challenge you. But if they want, they will come and they will face the consequences of their attempts. The point I'm driving at is that for many times people get scared over nothing. A criminal is a weak person. We are afraid of criminals based on the power that we have given. Especially white collar crime. White collar crime, we have this fear of that. But if I do this, this will happen to me. But try doing it and try to cooperate in terms of having a team with you and a group of people. The problem sometimes is oyambitsa amasowa. Chachikuru chimene taona mukaona ineyo abwana anga ndakhala muli apa ndakhala ndikukamba za chilungamo mziko muno kwa zaka zambiri. Teni even nkhani ya death penalty nkhani ya chilungamo timene makhala ndikumenyera komano mwina anthu amene amandisatira pa Facebook page banga mwina anali anthu 5,000 mwina 6,000 mwina 4,000 kumene pamene ndango kamba nkhani panopa mwina ndiosatira mwina 18,000 19,000 or 17,000. I'm not following. I want to say this, and I'm not excited with the following of the people because I know what people are and how people can support you and throw you anyhow. But I'm giving this example to show you how important this issue is, how the justice system has hurt a lot of people and how people are tired. People are tired. The judges, if the magistrates, if the judiciary is not changing, if the judiciary is not holding accountable their own, if this process that we're doing is going to be met with opposition within the judiciary, there will be more casualties.
Let's talk about the Anti-Corruption Bureau in the context of what we have just been discussing. Where do they fit?
Yeah, they fit into the whole concept. So, you see, corruption is a serious business. People ensure that systems, institutions are failing to work. You know, they basically paralyze systems. So look, if you have a judiciary that is corrupt, there's no way SCB can do anything, because the SCB will investigate Alexious Kamangila. They will take Alexious before the court. The court has been corrupted. Alexious Kamangila will be free. All the effort by SCB will be null and void. What do I mean? Despite the weaknesses of SCB, there are other systems, other institutions that have failed SCB. So I want to start by that, the fact that we're talking about corruption within the judiciary. You can't be blaming SCB if you have people that are clear doing things that are corrupt and then they are going scot-free. But the SCB should not be left scot-free. They are not doing things right. We had the election case, for instance. The then director of SCB, Council Remick Matemba, told us that in the election case, the Supreme Court judge was involved. Have you heard what transpired about that Supreme Court judge? No. They will tell you, if you ask them, they'll tell you, we investigated and we didn't find any reasonable ground to effect an arrest. They will not tell you what they found, how they found. They're not accountable even. So SB, while it's supposed to fight corruption, it's also accountable to us as Malawians. And I think for a long time, we need to be holding the SCB accountable. But at the same time, the SCB has to be independent as equally as judiciary has to be independent, in the context that they should not be arresting based on political influence. So if you followed the former SCB director Mantha if chair ineo cholinga changa nchonena kuti pamene ndalowa ndifuna ndisinthe chikhalidwe cha Malawi kuti ziphuphu aziziopa chifukwa panopa ziphuphu sizikuopedwa. Ndipo anapereka strategy kuti azitani ananena kuti kupatula kumanga anthu amene anapalamula milandu yakalekale ndizimanga ndipanga focus kwambiri milandu imene zichitika panopa fresh corrupt practices. And that was very strategic from that former director of SCB. Why? Okay, criminal behavior is very goes within the particular behavior of people, whereby if somebody has practiced corruption or has been found or is suspected, you need to do investigation timely. You need to arrest them timely, and you need to secure a conviction or an acquittal timely. Because within that time, then the memories of the community, the memories of everyone is fresh, then that has got a possibility of deterring other people from conducting due process. That's why I believe the former SCB director was trying to go that path. But what happened, you and me know, she was basically fought and she was paralyzed, and the status of corruption in this country is sad.
Right. The government is broader than just the judiciary, as we see now. How far widespread are these problems, you think, in the government machinery? Well,
I would be naive to claim to be an expert in corruption or the fight against corruption. My expertise is in human rights, and now I'm actually doing more expertise in access to justice. But the access to justice part, I'm focusing also, I'm trying to learn more on economic justice, and I think that's where corruption and come into the picture. So I think that it's a big problem. Because, as I indicated, corruption is not just about exchange of money. It's also employing someone because they are from your region. It's regionalism, tribalistic, religion, where you're coming from. But beyond that, I think that a culture, there can also be a corruption as a culture, whereby you can't do anything nice to someone until they give you something. So I'll give you an example. If you are driving in Mitundu, in the tip Mitundu, and you want to ask someone for directions, and maybe you're driving, let's assume, a nice car to the person that is you are trying to seek map from. So you ask them, can you give me directions to this place? Chances are they'll ask you, after giving you the map, whether you're going to give them a lift or you should give them something. That's corruption. That's a sense of, because gratitude comes from the person that is being glad. It's not something that is being forced upon. I shouldn't talk about traffic officers, how we behave. I shouldn't talk about the traffic at the what we call the roads authority. What happens? How they institutionalize corruption in terms of anyamaro tamanga banjabai. Immigration. There's a lot of corruption happening in immigration. There's institutionalization of corruption. As we just recently, we were talking about fuel deals. You know, in this country, there have been situations where serious crime or criminal practices have been exposed and nothing happens and life goes on. Mm-hmm. That shows you how deep
this passion for these things, I mean, the access to justice. Is it about your upbringing, your religious? Is it about just your understanding of the profession?
Yeah.
Where is this stemming from?
So I suspect, so I wouldn't say for certain, but I suspect that it's from childhood. My grandmother, late grandmother, Christina Silombela Kuizombe, she was an activist. She was then, as I was a child, advocating for women with AIDS. So she was going around with other women. So I've lived at a certain age of my childhood in Mangochi. So that's where she was doing her work, supporting people and ensuring that there's no stigma. But my mom as well faced an injustice when I was a child. And I think growing up, every Malawian, poverty is just so loud, you know. And I think for me, I've just been someone that wants to do something about this in a situation. And I think that it's fulfilling. So when I was in the university, one of my professors, Professor Gordon Kamchizia, invited me to his office and they asked me, Alexious, what is it that you stand for? What is your life? And I then came up with something that I live with up to now. So I believe that you live life to the most when you live for others. So when you live for others, you live life to the fullest, and that's what I believe. And I think human rights is a work of God. It's when you read the Bible, it talks about being a defender of the widows, being the defender of the orphans. Human rights advocates are supposed to be agents of God, people that are representing God, because we speak for the voices. We are supposed to speak for the voice. Unfortunately, evil is powerful, so we also sometimes start pursuing our own goals or pursuing our own interests. But I think that human rights advocates as well are not treated as they should be in terms of pay. There is little, if any, in terms of payment. I think the status of civil society organizations in this country has to improve. There's a lot of economic injustice within the NGO world, especially the local organizations. How much money? We need to be inquiring how much funds is going into the local organizations and how much funds is going to be international. And so capacity building, how are they being built and all that. So as you can see, I'm well equipped when it comes to pursuit of justice.
Right. Now, but to be our program, Kamangila. Ndizoona kuti alipo majaji ena mdziko lino amene amapempha maloya ena senior lawyers kuti awalembere majaji.
Izozo ni mphekesera ndinamva ndithu ndipo nkhani imene ndipo imakhuza maloya kuti ena anatisiya ndipo atatisiya ena akumakamba ona kuti makhoti ena akukanika kudusa chigamo koma izi nzonena kuti mwina inu ndikutumani kapena ndikumemani atolankhani kuti muzifufuze bwinobwino chifukwa ine ndilibe nazo umboni zonena kuti zimatere zinthuzi. Ananena unena kuti amanena kunena kuti panali maloya ena amene amapeza kuti umachita kuona kuti izizi walemba ndi wakuti fatu zomwe walemba munthu akakhala anthu amene amaziwa zolemba amaziwa zoti iyi ni language yawo kuti so umatha kubanga follow kuti akanganizire kwa kuti acha.
Now let me go to your other post, and I think this one will be my last one. You are saying, I know how huge the task that lies ahead is. this issue is not dying in the common way issues die in Malawi. I will not go to.
You've been busy, yeah.
How do issues die in Malawi?
Yeah, so usually in Malawi, there's something has happened. We are excited about it. Everyone is talking about it. The issue trends and all that. But after a week, a thing dies out. So I can give you an example. 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, Madam Mary Chilima came out. She visited Chikangawa at the place where the tragic event of Dr. Saulos Chilima happened, and may his soul rest in peace. And she made a call that there should be an inquiry into the happenings of that accident, or 48 hours within which that accident happened. Everyone was talking about it until 3, 4 days, 5 days later. Now no one is talking about it, and if you're not careful, it's going to die. And that happens even within the context of corruption, within the context of crime, serious crimes and all that. I think that our community, our citizens, we have a lot of passive bystanders, and as civil society, as government, as people that love this country, we need to empower our citizens to be active bystanders. So a bystander is someone who is observing something happening, and they are not involved. They are not involved, but they can be a bystander who takes part, even though they are not involved. They want to contribute or to do something. I think that the politicians excel, or they like the passiveness of our communities. Malawians are not as active as Kenyans, they are not as vocal as other countries that are neighboring. Even if you look at Mozambicans, you see that they are more vocal. Or Nigerians, let me give an example of Nigeria. Nigerians are very expressive, so they, we can give examples of other countries. Yes, it goes within the context of how many are educated in the literacy levels. Beyond that, the casual aspect that I want to say that most people, I would rather not say something other feeling offending someone by pointing out something wrong that is happening. So we need to work on that in terms of awareness. We need to work in empowering our citizens. We need to ensure that food should not be a problem, because as long as food is still chakuja ngati chizikabe chovuta kupeza kumalawi kunoko, ngati anthu azijabe chiteze kumalawi kunoko, sitingapite pena palipose, sitingapite kusogolo pa nkhani ya zaufulu, sitingapite pasogolo pa nkhani ya democracy.
My last question to you, I believe this one is the last one. Do you think you have enough ammunition to carry on this fight to the very end? I'm looking at what we have discussed and what others are saying about the issue at hand, and I see you fighting a monster. 10% you say isn't this? Do you see yourself armed enough to fight to the end?
So this is the thing. I might have just started this issue, but this issue is not mine. It's not my battle. It's Malawians. First of all, that's what should be taken. And Malawians, it includes the judges, it includes the politicians, it includes a lot of people. So I think Malawians have got enough ammunition to see this off. I don't want to come here to claim that this issue is for Malawians. And I am very young. I've got about 30 years for me to retire, to reach retirement age. I think in 30 years, this issue, if I'm focused enough, I can get the judiciary to a place where I would want to get it. But I'm saying this being careful, because I'm not making any promises. The things that I do and that I speak for, it's my choices. And
I want you to say that, Chichewa, as we draw to the end.
Yeah, nimafuna unena kuti nkhondo imene yambai siya ineo, siya person, it's not person, siyanga kumandi ya Malawi. Ndipo ndikukhulupirira kuti Malawiyo ndizida zokwanira. Nena kuti ndi nyonga zokwanira kuti nkhani tiitenge mpaka ifike kumapeto. Ine pali pano mwina ndizaka zokwana 30 zina kusogoloko kuti ndizafike kuti ndipange litaya. Ndikukhulupirira kuti nthawi imene ndi ambiri yonena kuti zimemana Malawi. Ine nditangokhala nkhope chabe pankhani imene koma inyake ankhondo ndi azimayi amene akuvutika akapita ku child justice court kukambirana za custody ya mwana kapena zinthu zosiyanasiyana mabanja awo akamati ndikukamba za pali anthu amene ali ku Chichiri prison ku Maula prison amene akukanika kulandira chilungamo tukamba za mabanki so nkhani itu ndi yayikulu mabanki amene ali ndi mphamvu so tikamakamba pena pake ndikuziwa kuti mukuseka ujeni program koma tikamakamba za injustice pena anthu osauka timakomedwa timaona ngati kuphwanyidwa kwa chilungamo kumangopweteka kapena kumangofikira anthu osauka anthu solemera kapena kuti makampani amapanga sosafa injustice chilungamochi chimasokonezanso chuma cha nziko kuti chiyende tinene kuti kusokoneza mukamasokoneza chilungamo kayendezedwe ka chilungamo mziko masokoneza kuti chuma chisayende bwino ndichifukwa chake timakamba kumayambiro kuja kuti ngakhale anthu amene akufuna mwina kuzapanga invest mziko muno amatha kubwerera mbuyo akaona unena kuti malamulo sakugwira ntchito there is lawlessness and the judiciary is not accountable and as well as we talk about the judiciary we need to also thinking about how the Malawi Law Society yakhala ikumenyera nkhondo yonena kuti paduse lamulo limene ndimukamanya kuti nkhondo imuyipitiriza nkhondo itu siyandeka Malawi Law Society pamene akumenyera kunena kuti tipange lamulo limene nkhondo yake ndi yomwe.
Zikomo kwambiri Mr. Alexious Kamangila.
So it's a pleasure.
Zikomo kwambiri.
Zikomo.
Ameneyo ndi Alexious Kamangila mkulu ameneyo ndi lawyer ndipo akuduza nkhani yonena kuti mwina atuti samangokhala chete chifukwa uku kumene timapita kukapeza chilungamo kukuchitika zina zimene zofunika kuziunika ndi kuzisintha akukamba nkhani yokhudzana ndi katangale ndi ziphuphu. Ndine Gabriel Kamulomo. Zikomo kwambiri.